4 exercises. So these are going to be things you definitely want to write down. So from the age of 10 to 14, we train kids in the middle school level. But before they get to that 6th, 7th, 8th grade level, because of the way my gym is set up, when a coach or a parent calls me, I say, get your son involved in gymnastics. Our warm-up, that's like the most important part of our workout. We do all kinds of movement prep, jogging, skipping, shuffling, animal walks. I make them do cartwheels in the gym. My other gym is out on a parking lot, so I make them do cartwheels on the front lawn. I make them do gymnastics training, tumbling. So you want to get gymnastics stuff as early as possible. It builds the foundation. And that's where really the overseas wrestling communities and countries succeeded, because they built a foundation. They never forced kids into specialty. So they saw kids that maybe were built a certain way. If they looked like they were built for wrestlers, yes, they brought them in for wrestling, but they were all like hybrid athletes. They could swim, they could go and play soccer, they could play volleyball, they did gymnastics. They were good at doing a lot of things. They didn't specialize. The training that we're going to use is all general physical preparation. It strengthens the muscles involved in wrestling. Wrestling is the specific stuff. So from 10 to 14, we're going to be doing a lot of body weight training, all kinds of tumbling drills, cartwheel drills, hand walking. I definitely recommend rope climbing, maybe just twice a week. When they can't climb a rope, you just have them lay on their back. They climb up, they go down, they go from their back. Every exercise has a regression and a progression. So if I was teaching somebody how to do push-ups and they were too weak to do push-ups, I would just have them walk on their hands and do bear crawls and crab walks. Then I get them good at push-ups. Then when they get good at push-ups, I can get them good at clapping push-ups. Then I can teach them how to kick up and go into a handstand hold. So those younger kids, we want to do push-ups, pull-ups, all kinds of gymnastics training. You could maybe get some light kettlebells. I'm not really, that might even be outside of our keep it simple method. Get them with medicine balls, get them throwing medicine balls. One of the best things you guys could do is you could make a sled for dragging. So now you can buy sleds for about 110, 120 bucks, but it was one of the best things we've done for our wrestlers. My dad, I used to ask him to weld me sleds, but the first sled I made, I went to a local tire yard, and I got the front end tire off a tractor, and then I had my wife's uncle come over, he drilled a hole through it, he plugged an eye hook in it, and then I bought toe straps from Home Depot, and I had kids dragging sleds backwards, dragging sleds forwards. I had them doing like presses with it, I had them doing power rowing with it, and it crushed them, because they had to actually move and carry weight. Now nobody could screw this up. Hey, take that sled and walk forward. Take that sled, walk backwards. You can't mess it up. It really revolves around my motto too, which is easy to teach, easy to learn. It gets them so strong, just pushing and pulling those sleds. You could also grab here and make them do lateral walks with it. Now at first, you might just have them drag like from here, there, and back. You could do it on grass, you could do it on concrete. Let them take a rest. Then they build up to maybe doing 2 minutes nonstop. Then they build up to 5, 6, 7 minutes nonstop. I build kids up to doing it like this. We would drag the sled all the way to the end. Boom, 10 push-ups. Drag the sled backward, bang, 10 push-ups. Other times I would take the toe straps and connect them, and I would make them just hand over hand pull it, and then they would do push-ups. Take it, go back, boom, hand over hand pull it, push-ups. So I made them do timed pulling, pushing. What's that like? Pulling during a match, snapping, just getting, that builds what? Strength, endurance. When they're punching their hands out and pulling fast, grip endurance. Their abs are getting worked, their legs are getting worked. It is great, so using sleds would be huge. Any kind of carry would be great. I remember speaking to one guy, and he's like, why do you think the wrestlers in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, beat the guys that are coming from, like Jersey areas? I was like, I have no clue. I really want to find out why they're just so physically dominant. He's like, because they work all day on a farm, dude. He's like, they freaking work. And what do they do when they work? Let's look at these movements. We're taking bales of hay. We're throwing it. We're going to carry up buckets of feed. Now we're farmer walking it. We put stuff up on the wheel. Boom, we pull it. He goes, every wrestling family in those farm towns, he goes, has a climbing rope in the garage. And they're climbing rope from when they're a very young age. They're loading stuff up into a truck, clean and press. They're banging on, they're digging ditches and hitting poles in. They're pushing the car around the farm. So they're doing all basic stuff that you can't really mess up. So farmer walks are going to be great. Sled drags are going to be great. Throwing stuff, getting small medicine balls to throw are awesome. We used to go down to the field, and I had these light kettlebells, and I remember training this one kid. He had to stay back a year because even when he got to freshman year in high school, he was like 88 pounds. And back then, I think that weight class switched to, what was it, 98? Do you guys remember that back then? Or it was 100 pounds? He was undersized. So his dad came after that freshman year, and we had to put muscle on him. So even at a young age, we made sandbags. We made him take it from the ground, rip it up, put it down, rip it up. Had him doing pull-ups, had him training in the backyard, carrying stuff. So it was all like bodyweight stuff, carrying. I like sprints, the gymnastic stuff you can't get away from. So as they get a little bit older, now we start looking at their training age, meaning if I train a kid who's starting at like age 12, and then when he's 13, I've trained him for a year, he's going to be at a much higher training age than a kid that's 13. Because sometimes a 13-year-old looks like he's 15, or even an 18-year-old looks like he's 14, right? So when you build them up, they have that foundation, now they can learn faster. So when it's time to start doing things like 14, 15, dumbbell clean and press, that's going to be great. We do all kinds of pull-up variations, or bodyweight pull-up. Pull-ups with all different hand grips. There's a lot of different stuff in this gym, all the different rope climbing, and we keep it simple. We look at squats, an upper body push, upper body pull. There's a million movements there. Lunging, you got to do a lot of unilateral work to hit the backside, and some sort of carry. So the carries are great. And you could get away with just, if all you have is dumbbells, a dragging sled, or a leg drag, and body weight, like area to do pull-ups or even rings, you could build some legitimate strength right there. So keep it real simple. And as far as the frequency, not too much, because they're going to get stronger when they recover. You want to be real careful with trying to build a world champion in 8th grade. That means nothing. We need to start getting these guys to remain healthy and to be able to peak in the later years. So we actually want to hold them back a little bit. We want to leave a little bit in the tank so when they're done with the workout, they want to come back for more. Same thing with wrestling. If we crush them all the time, no good. Certainly there's times where they do need to get crushed, right? They just need it. They need to take their mind and body to that next level to see that they can do it. But most of our wrestlers train 2 to 3 days a week, because then they wrestle another 2 to 3 days a week. If I had control of everything, in the deeper off season, they would lift 3 days a week, maybe do 1 to 2 light drill sessions a week. Then when it started maybe getting into the summer, maybe a drill session and a live session. Then when we get like around this time, would maybe be 2 lifting workouts, then a 3rd short one, and then 1 drill, 1 live. I'm going to be holding them back. I want 2 days of rest throughout the week. The younger ones, I'm not going to really push them. I'm going to let them kind of build their own commitment level to it. Because if you're pushing them, then they're working for you. We want them to learn to work through this, through their own drive, their own heart. So keep those movements simple. All right, once they get to that 15, 16 age, then we can start doing trap bar deadlifts, heavier farmer walks, overhead pressing, but we do a ton of bodyweight stuff. And I'm shocked that we get varsity wrestlers showing up that can't do like 2 pull-ups, they can't do a good squat. We want their athleticism first, and then we get them stronger. Okay? Who else has questions? Yes?
Do you use plyometrics at all?
Great question. Do I use plyometrics? So plyometrics, also called the shock method. Plyometrics is when like the hands or the feet get ground contact time of like 0.15 to 0.40 of a second. And it's a big buzzword. And you see a lot of, you go to like wrestling clubs and somebody's going to be training the wrestlers and it's all like plyometrics, and the kids are like crawling out of there. And then the parents are like, yeah, you kicked their ass, that's awesome. That's the wrong way to do it. Plyometrics are very short, explosive bursts, and there's optimal amounts that you can do with it. Plyometrics are like touch-go. We will throw jump training in during our warm-ups. Our warm-up kind of segues into power work. And sometimes we do jump training, both for upper and lower body, combined with heavy lifting. For example, we might do like a heavy squat or a heavy deadlift for like 2 to 3 reps. Then I will make them jump up on a box. Or I might make them jump over 2 to 3 hurdles. So what happens is they just lifted heavy and it fatigued the body. Now they got to recruit more muscle fibers to jump. But let me ask you guys this question. Does that sound like a beginner or even an intermediate method? No. Most kids are going to have to, before you can be explosive, what do you have to have? Technique and strength, foundation, muscle. That's right. So we've got people trying to do plyometrics, jumping, and they're using, they're bucking their knees, they're rounding their back. They don't have technique, they don't have foundation, they don't have the strength, they don't even have the coordination. So they're trying to throw that in too early. It's something that we get to when we can't say we do it after 3 months, we do it after 6 months. Because sometimes I train a kid and in 3 months he's turned the corner, he's an animal. Other kids takes like 12 months, 2 years. And here and again, you have a kid that just, he's not in it to win it, and it's like if your mind's not connecting with the training, it doesn't happen. So what are some plyometric methods? Jumping is great. Simple squat jumps, lunge jumps, those are the beginner ones. One of the simplest forms of kind of like plyos is just like doing some jumping, double unders. If you guys want people to get real good and real explosive, get them to jump rope. Look at Buddy Lee. He was on the Olympic team for Greco-Roman wrestling, and all he did was jump rope. And I remember when I spoke to him, he was like, I always jumped rope. But when I wasn't like winning more, I started talking to how the Russians were trained. It's like they trained outside. They took tree logs and they were throwing tree logs. It's like they would take stones and throw it. They would chop wood. It's like, so I started training outside and lifting heavy stuff and throwing heavy stuff. So when you throw stuff, it builds power. When you jump, that's like throwing your body. Upper body plyometrics are all kinds of clapping push-ups, chest slap, hip slap, but you go low reps. You do low reps, 2 reps, 3 reps, 4 reps at a time. Very low reps, because you don't want the technique to suffer. So when we do jump training, we'll do our whole like gymnastics warm-up, and then I'll take them into the gym and I'll do something like this. I'll say, you're going to go for 10 sets, you're going to do 2 hurdle jumps, 2 clapping push-ups. The advanced wrestlers are going to do that non-stop. That's 20 explosive reps. The ones that are maybe not so much right, they're going to, instead of jumping over hurdles, they're going to jump over the benches. Those are very low. And instead of doing 2 clapping push-ups, I'm just going to have them do their push-ups faster, because that's what their level is. You got the other kids that are crazy explosive, they're going to be clapping behind their back. And I see when these kids get that level of like strength and power, and I watch them wrestle other kids and just manhandle them, it's because of what the training does for the mind, not just what it does for the muscles. So if you could use plyometrics and jump training, I really wouldn't use much of it in season, because wrestling, if the kids are drilling properly and wrestling properly, that is their explosive work. In season, I'm going to focus on what they're not getting. So if they're drilling and live wrestling hard, what does that take care of? What like energy system? What does that work in their body?
Endurance.
It's their cardio, their endurance, their stamina, right? I'm not going to talk any science stuff, so it's definitely not my style. So what are they not getting work on?
Strength.
Strength. Yep, they're not getting strength. But because they're so kind of beat up, not just physically from wrestling, but the emotional stress, competing, when do I eat, do I have to wrestle off, what weight am I going, I have a match tomorrow on this day, I'm on Facebook, I'm on this. They just got so much emotional stress, you guys know as adults, can wreck your body. It could like make you feel like crap. So when they're beat up, our in-season workouts are short. They could be like 15 to 20 minutes. We had one kid, this was probably like 4 years ago, he was going to quit wrestling. He was a senior. He was an awesome wrestler. And his dad had pushed him to just crazy levels. He's like, I hate this sport. I can't take it anymore. I don't want to go to these wrestling clubs. I'm not doing any of this training. I go, dude, listen to me for 2 minutes. Let me tell you this plan that I have. I go, don't go to the wrestling club. I go, don't run. I go, the only thing I want you to do is go to wrestling practice, go home, do your homework, go to bed early, take a bath, whatever, spend time with your girlfriend. I go, 1 day a week, I want you to show up here. I'll have you in and out of this gym in 15 to 20 minutes. That's all we're going to do. So some of the workouts we did is we did a real short warm-up because he'd come from wrestling practice. We would do like couplets or triplets, so it would be something like this. Trap bar deadlift for 3 reps. Not too heavy, but not too light. Medium. Then he'd go to a floor press, that's benching from the floor. 3 reps. Then he would do like heavy kettlebell swings, 6 reps, 5 rounds. Then the next time I might have him do 5 minutes of handstand push-ups coupled with rope climbs. Once he got 5 minutes of that, maybe I make him do some sort of lower body squat or lunge movement for like 3 sets. And then I'd have him do recovery work. He's like, I feel so great, I feel so great. He wasn't burnt out anymore. I left all the energy for him to go and wrestle. He stopped running, he stopped overworking his body, and now he can focus on one thing, high school wrestling practice. Other kids are reserving. I can't go hard now, I got wrestling practice. But then I got to do this and I got to do that. We want to just give these kids the energy to wrestle. And he wound up taking 4th in the state that year. It was his best year. And he set the school record for wins. It was like just shy of 150. It was like 140-something wins. And he was going to quit because he was tired of overworking high intensity. He was always training here, and he didn't need to train there. So what did I do? I met the training to meet his mentality and what his body needed. He was overtrained, and I had to actually stop him. So I don't even know how I got that. Was that from the plyometrics thing? Right. So plyometrics aren't always necessary. But when he did lift weights, he lifted them fast and explosively. He wasn't slow. It was like bang, bang, bang. Deadlift, boom, boom. He moved with the intent of explosiveness and power. So when he competed, that's how he moved. So first, I dial in the technique. Then I build that strength. And once they have that technique and strength, then I start making them move more explosively. But I'm never going to have them move fast and explosive until that technique is dialed in. Okay? Who had a question up here? Yes?
When's the best time to lift during the season?
Awesome question. The most important thing we already agreed on during the season is wrestling. So, if possible, and there's just no optimal way, because I'm working with like a team right now, and I live so far away from them, that we try to do an early morning workout, and then they wrestle again in the afternoon. So, if I feel that this team is a pretty good, technical team, then we're going to do like a 15 to 20 minute lift first. There's other times where I'm going to be like, you know what, we got to dial in our technique. I'm going to lift later. Okay? If you could bring them in for a second session, high school kids, it's just not doable. So maybe in high school, we really got it. These kids are just, they need the technique. So when we're done with a session, I might schedule 2 workouts in season. Simple. I might say, fellas, get the heavy dumbbells out. You're going to do farmer walk. Take it to the end. Bang out 5 push-ups. Farm walk back. Do that for 5 sets. Or I might say, go into the weight room. Do a dumbbell clean and press. I want you to get 5 sets, 3 reps each side. And after each set, bang out sub-max pull-ups. So like 90% of your best pull-ups. I'll give them 2 exercises. Maybe upper, lower, or full body and a pull. And twice a week. And then it's going to be simple. It's not going to interfere with their wrestling, but I'm going to prepare, and I'm not going to have to go in and teach them what to do. I'm not going to give them wasteful exercises. Okay? So don't overdo it. It's amazing how much you could get, and this is what optimal training is about. It's about maximizing everything you could get from doing just enough. And in wrestling, that's our biggest mistake. We want to outwork everybody. Run more, wrestle more. You want to get those kids from whatever level it is, do the work and be done. Don't do anything more than what needs to be done, because what's the end? Our end goal is for them to win on the mat. That's what we want to see. So if anything we do interferes with their wrestling performance, you're doing too much. All right? Yes, sir.
You mentioned one session or two sessions. You're talking weekly, you're talking daily? I mean, I guess that's where I kind of got lost.
Oh, yeah. So during the week, I would go with 2 sessions a week. At the college level, kids have more freedom. So with this one college that I've been working with, I need them early in the morning, pretty early in the morning, because I just can't get there at any other time. Now, here's the great question about that. Is that perfect? Is it optimal? Maybe not. But guess what? Every workout is going to be flawed. So as a coach, don't beat yourself up over trying to be a scientist. Get the work done. Get the most important stuff done. We don't want things to be perfect. You know, Carrie Colite even said, like, when he was training, he's like, man, we packed our bags, we were going on this flight. He's like, I knew we shouldn't have put our bags for the suitcases to be pulled away. He's like, because we were flying out the day before weigh-in, and we would arrive the day of weigh-in. He's like, I knew that was a bad idea, but I always expected things to go wrong. They had our bags, and then the flight got delayed. He's like, I knew that would happen. He's like, but I didn't waste a minute crying about it. I went to the bathroom, I dumped the garbage out, took the garbage bag, put it inside out, started cutting weight. He's like, immediately there was, 5, 6 other guys pummeling in the airport, doing all their hand fighting and all their work. He's like, we just expected it to go wrong. Pat Santoro said, every time I wrestle, he's like, I'd imagine my opponent putting me to my back. So I was ready to fight. I didn't expect it to go perfect. And then Jordan Burroughs, didn't he wrestle with like his ankle just totally shredded for like a month? We don't want it to be perfect, guys. It's too perfect, we don't train their mind. And you'll probably notice that there's some kids, you're like, why that kid win all the time? He doesn't work that hard, he's almost kind of lazy, but he's probably got it up here. And sometimes everything goes perfect for everybody, and then they're like, oh God, I'm doing 5 sets of 3. It's only supposed to be 5 sets of 2. Now the world is, they're always trying to get everything too perfect. And I understand you're limited as coaches of things you could say before you get fired. With me, I'm in like a different situation where I run my own business, and I tell them straight up, you're gonna hurt. Sometimes this gym is gonna be cold. Sometimes it's gonna be too hot. Sometimes you're gonna train outside. Sometimes you're gonna train without a warm-up. Sometimes you're gonna train with a very long warm-up. Sometimes you're gonna do all your stamina work first, and then I'm gonna make you lift heavy to make sure that you're tough and you don't, chicken out when it's time to be strong when everybody else is being weak. So it won't ever be perfect. And I think as wrestlers and coaches, we need to really get that into their heads. So if we want optimal in season, twice a week, short is plenty, but most of our kids train once a week because they're going to wrestling clubs. The only time I really would like to see kids going to wrestling clubs legitimately, and this saddens me, is if legitimately they're in a high school room that they're not getting pushed. Their coach doesn't push them. They got a team full of kids, it's like they're the only kid that works. That makes it tough, and then they do have to go wrestle somewhere else to get some competition. But what about the kids that are in that room, that's a team that everybody's really banging heads, and I'm going to tell that kid, boom, 15 to 20 minute training, everything else is recovery focused. Going home, resting.
Let me ask you
Sure.
a question, because it gets into, I know you kind of mentioned you're not big into the peaking thing, and I understand that, respect it. I'm more about the recovery piece. And I've always had the philosophy that early season, I want to work hard. I only have an ample amount of time, so I got a sample group that I've got to do my best to toughen up for a short period of time.
True.
And then increase the recovery towards the end.
I agree with that.
So the question I have is when you start towards the end of the season,
Yep.
little down to 1 day a week.
Great question. Towards the end of the season, all right, there was times where what we did is, if I saw that kid was like that kid that did thrive on like the perfect everything, I was like, okay, the week before districts, we're going to do a super light workout. Then you're not even going to lift during regions, and if you go to states, it's up to you if you want to come once. Because in 2 weeks, there's like a 2-week time frame where the performance could go down, but you do just enough in that time. The end of the year, what often happens, I'm sorry, what's your name? Stan? So it's a great question, because the end of the year what happens is the coaches tend to raise the intensity, and that's when the kids are actually, they're beat up. They've gone through like 10 weeks of very heavy training, and then they start decreasing their performance on the mat because they're crushed. So what we want to do is do just shorter workouts, but you can still keep the intensity right where it needs to be, maybe not crazy, but you get them, you get them in and out a little bit faster. So yes, you do want to do those peaking things, but what I was referring to earlier, I'm sorry if it confused anybody, is I don't say strength for 1 month, power for 1 month. I want to build badasses all year. You're going to be strong and explosive, and you might not be, I don't want them at tip-top shape. You know, I don't send them, help them go to the season in their best shape. They're not going to be in their best wrestling shape because they're not going to be training, wrestling 6 days a week. But I have those very high levels of strength and explosiveness, mental toughness. And I also try to train them to be smart, meaning, hey guys, be honest. If you feel beat up, let me know what you need to, if you feel beat up, be honest, and we can work around that stuff. Yes?
Are you finding the guys that you're working with are trying to cut weight back?
No, sucks. They still cut weight. Some of the coaches make them cut weight. We had one kid that was like 150, abs. I have no clue how he did it. He got to 120. He was good for the first few weeks of the season. I mean, he beat a 2-time state champ, but then he didn't even go to the States. And it really, the thing there's two things, guys. Number one, if you're cutting so much weight, we tell them straight up, who are you ducking? Why are you avoiding people? Step up, be strong enough to go with wherever you weigh. You know, I don't like when they say, oh man, but 138 is not my normal weight class, and that's why he beat me. Well, what did you weigh in at 138? Then it is your normal weight class. And I want them to essentially be able to have a small breakfast, a good lunch, and a good dinner every day. The day of the match, you're going to have to lighten it up. But it's a discipline thing. Kids are cutting weight. It just never ends. We got a kid now. Super 32 is going on now. He was like 120 something. He's at that 106, 108 pound class. Cutting weight, I feel, it burns the kids out. And then number two, it teaches them to avoid. They end up training to simply lose weight. John Smith always said at both of those intensive camps, he goes, you show up in this practice room, you wear shorts and a t-shirt. You do not show up in here to cut weight. You got to cut weight, then do whatever you got to do after practice. Practice is time to get better. So when a kid shows up at the gym and they're like, oh, turn the heat on, do this, they say, nope, work out. You're not here to cut weight. We're here to get you stronger, more explosive, faster, do whatever recovery work we have to do. It sucks. You think like we get away from this, but it's just, I don't know. I think like when you dial in the training, then you have that confidence to face whoever you have to face. And it's always a perfect example. It's like when we were training some of those kids, they didn't cut weight that initial crew. They did not cut weight. In fact, the kid that was the 89-pounder, he weighed like 178. And he kept winning and winning, and his first loss was in the States. He was a kid that took 7th in the state. Kids are going to cut weight. As coaches, we got to really make them stronger. 5 minutes? We got to make them stronger and put on muscle so that when the season comes, they lose the 8 to 10 pounds easy just because they're doing 6 days a week practice, and they go wherever they go. And it just beats up their bodies. They end up hating wrestling. Yes, sir. Great question. Yeah, it's an awesome question. So, what was your name, sir? Harry's saying, do I have any kind of diet or protein drinks? So I'm not a nutritionist, but I know that when you want to get strong, you do what our parents always told us to do. Eat a good breakfast, good lunch, get good dinner. Scrambled eggs and oatmeal. Have some bacon on the side. Have a piece of fruit. For lunch, have some sort of protein sandwich. Roast beef, turkey, tuna. Have yogurt and a piece of fruit. Come home, have a snack. Have some trail mix. Then you go train. Then you have a good, strong dinner. If you're still hungry, have some dinner leftovers. We have some kids that drive an hour each way to get to our gym. So I tell them, I go, you run around all over the place. Yes, have a protein shake. You're so busy, go ahead, have a protein shake. But I'm a bigger believer in just having, for athletes, a good blend of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. A lot of kids, their breakfast is like cereal or like going to Dunkin' Donuts. It like drives me nuts. Like they train up here, but then they eat like, I don't know what they're training for, you know what I mean? So the flip side to it is I tell kids, I go, if I push you to do everything, you learn nothing. But I'm going to give you the information on what you need to do as far as eating. And we just look at just clean, healthy foods. It's nothing crazy, but it's eating regular, eating frequently. And that's what keeps them strong. I go, if you don't want to do it, then you don't want to win. I just tell them straight up. Because there's no way these kids could lift hard and wrestle hard, and for breakfast they have a piece of fruit. For lunch, they buy the school lunch. I always tell them, don't buy the school lunch. That's one thing I say, none of that stuff. And then, like, they just don't eat. There's no way the body could get stronger that way. So, you know, if you could give them simple guidelines, the guidelines of what is on, like, the food pyramid is totally ass backwards. It's like all grains, and that stuff just, like, bloats them. It messes with their stomach. I'd rather see them having, like, a lot more meats, more, you know, a lot of vegetables. And I don't care if they say, I don't like this, I don't like that. Clean eating, you know. Oh, I don't have time in the morning. Wake up early. I think we need to just get away from giving them the opportunities to make excuses about food and tell them this is what it takes to win. Not just in wrestling, but in life. You all know that. If you wrestled and now you're succeeding in another place in your life, it's because of wrestling. So protein shakes, if they're in a bind. And there's some protein shakes that are obviously better than others. We work with a real good nutritionist in Red Bank. And when I was at a pretty big wrestling camp, the nutritionist was telling the kids, if you eat chicken, take the skin off. You're going to drink milk, have skim milk. That's wrong. These wrestlers need to have healthy fats. They need to eat whole eggs, chicken with the skin on it. They should have whole milk, 2% milk, not skim milk. You know, all the research is showing that healthy fats is giving much better for energy, speeding up metabolism, building muscle, and burning fat. You know, where sugars they're finding is really the enemy. So, but it's real simple. CrossFit has like a real simple thing about like eat meats, eat nuts, eat a little, you know, eat fish, eat some fruit. Real simple, real basic, and it's just like the training, keeping it simple. Protein shakes are if they are in a bind, traveling a lot, and when they're in season during a tournament, one thing we don't want them eating are bagels or breads. And then the other rule I give them is I say, don't try to eat something new during the tournament. Don't experiment on eating, I don't know, a tuna sandwich in between matches if you never did it. If you felt, I remember talking to a kid and he's like, oh man, I felt like crap. But then I eat like a pork roll and egg sandwich and chocolate milk, and I felt awesome. I was like, you got carbs, you got protein, you got fat in there. He's like, I felt great. The time before that, one kid I remember saying, he didn't do good. It was during the county tournament when he was a senior. He's like, my stomach was killing me. I said, what'd you eat? He's like, I had a bagel. I was like, you dumbass, we just had a nutritionist here that said don't eat bagels. You know, the things that mess with their stomach tend to be those grains. Okay? Tomorrow I'm going to take everybody into the weight room. I'm going to do Q&A in there, demonstrate whatever you need in there. And those of you that have free time tonight, I have a blog. It's called undergroundstrength.tv. But if you go to YouTube, to my YouTube channel, and just type in wrestling, you'll get a ton of insight to workouts that we do. We even have kids like wrestling on the front lawn to get them out of their comfort zone of always wrestling on a mat. In the beginning, it like took kids 5 minutes to finally like battle it out. But we do things to get them out of their comfort zone. And then those of you, we have a membership website where I post real like the workouts, the full-blown video workouts. It's called, the discount is for coaches, and I give it when I go out. It's called undergroundtrained.com, and it's $9.95 a month. If you work at a school, you might be able to ask the Booster Club to pay for that, and it could be considered as part of like your either continuing education credits that you have to take care of. Well, I'm going to be here today. I'll be at the social tonight. My whole goal is to help you guys in any way I can, so don't hesitate to ask me questions. You know, I'll do this till they kick me out and shut the lights out. So I'm here, and thanks so much.